Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Bricks King podcast, where I'm going to bend your ear about Lego. View those amazing bricks of plastic and discuss what is new and up-and-coming around the Lego world. I'm your Minifigure Matt. Let's build on it. Welcome in, everybody. How are we doing today? Hopefully well. Hopefully very, 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 very well. And obviously, you're here. You've seen the title of the episode. You probably looked into the show notes, the description, whatever. We are talking about the Lord of the Rings Rivendell set that is, well, my dear God. I mean, looks, me as an amateur, as a very, very, like, whatever the bottom line amateur, because there's many tiers of amateur. You could be top amateur. You could be, middle amateur. You could be bottom third amateur. You could be bottom, I don't, whatever, 132nd amateur, something. However, that is not me. I am not. I'm on the very bottom rung. If there's a ladder with 12 steps, I'm under step number 1. Like I'm the fungal growth growing from the water cascading down over time from rainfall on the bottom rung of a wooden ladder. It's just where I'm at. I just don't know enough. So let's go ahead and refresh your memory, because that is of the highly most important thing. So the set number for this is 10316. The set name actually specifically is the Lord of the Rings Rivendell, or Rivendell, or LOTR Rivendell, Lotra Rivendell. There's going to be so many identifying marks for this. This thing does retail for a easy $500 here in the United States, or 500 euros, and then also 430 British pounds, which is not bad. So what do you want to know about it? Do you want to know how great it is? Do you want to know where there's some downfalls? Do you want to know some new parts? I know it was a rhetorical question. I already know this. So before you get your panties in a wad, this is going to be a 2-part episode, because there's way too much to cover. There's just way too much. And I don't want to do any kind of disservice, not just because of the fact that I don't know anything about Lord of the Rings. I don't want to do any disservice to the sheer fact that this set is incredibly well done. Walking into this set, all I saw was, oh my God, there's 49 bags. Oh my God, there are tiles on the roof that have to be aligned. Oh my God. All of those things that play through your head played through my head so many times. So many times. I was absolutely unhappy thinking about all the things that had to be done. Like, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do here and that. And it's really not that bad. And if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, you're gonna love every single moment of this. If you're a modular fan, there are going to be many aspects that you're going to love of this. If you're just a general Lego builder, you're going to love a lot of the aspects of this. If you're a casual or even hardcore Lego builder, even if it doesn't fall under this theme, you're absolutely going to love majority of the parts of this. Cool techniques, new pieces, new ways of building, different set design ideas, because this does have to stay very, very, very close to the film. And if you heard the interview that we did with Atticus T-Mac, he was mentioning about the Jurassic Park T-Rex breakout. What he had mentioned is that, they had used images. They'd taken images and stuff like that. Here, I'm thinking, the studio house, the movie house, they're sending all these images. Oh, you need a picture of this? Here, we got this. Oh, you need that? We have this. No, they had to go do their own research, which blew my mind even more so than what I realized. So now, stop and think about what really has to take place to make Rivendell so perfectly well done. And I'm just speaking off the cuff here, but I'm pretty sure it's the same way. Not getting images from the movie house, from the franchise owner rights. I don't know who owns Lord of the Rings at the moment. probably like Warner Brothers, Disney, or somebody like that. It's probably one of the big bajillionaire companies. But that really made me pause when I had talked to Atticus, and I was like, I wonder how many others. Well, I'm looking at this thing right now down the barrel. I'm like, could we have this as another one? So let's go ahead and talk about it. So the final build of this thing comes in 3 separate pieces. There's 3 separate segments that connect together. You use the Technic axle and pin piece. It has a pin on one side and a small axle on the other. So the axle piece is what is sticking out to be able to grab onto the other things. And I like that. And here's why. It's not the first time Lego has done that. However, what is nice about it is the fact that when you join these together, it looks great when it's built up. It's all combined. It's gorgeous. Everything is perfect. But at the same time, the also great thing about it is when you take it apart, you don't have to worry about things breaking apart. You don't have to worry about putting undue pressure on certain places and having things, different components, different mini builds, different builds in general breaking. You don't have to worry about it. So I appreciate the thought over time in which that has changed. Now, if only we could get the modulars there. That would be the next step. So the set piece, whatever you want to call it, the part that I'm going to talk about is the far right if you're looking at it from the front. So as I had mentioned, this thing is beyond a behemoth. There's so much to it, intricate details. So this piece alone, all right, we're going to go left to right like you do, return sweep, reading, return sweep, left, right, unless you're in a different part of the world. I think, is Arabic reading the only one that goes from right to left? I think it is. I could be wrong. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. However, so from left to right, let's do it. So on the very front of this, you actually have a brick built bridge, very thick, very, very thick. Has some studs that are on the top, some studs in other places so that your minifigs for Lord of the Rings characters can stand on the top or kind of to the side of it. And then underneath that, you have this flowing water that is coming out just below it, which is great. But what I really appreciated is just behind the bridge to where you're looking, if you're looking at it from the front, just, about a foot above the bridge, eye level wise, what you are noticing is you see a lot of white pieces that are used back here. That's to create the illusion of foam. Same as in the front where essentially, I guess you could think of it's going down a waterfall. Why else would there be foam? So I really like that, the way that is done. We get our first glance of the new fern pieces here to the very far left of the set, which is incredibly well done. I know Wes and his team, Talbot, him and his team did an incredible job, visualizing this and having this piece come to light. You'll find out in the instructions a little bit more about that, but I don't want to spoil it. I want you to enjoy your money here and really get an appreciation for this. So we have the bridge, we have the water. All of that is done in the trans blue tile, not the dark blue. It's a trans blue tile that is going on here. Trans blue pieces as well that are 1x1 plates, 2x1 plates, all that kind of stuff. And then as you move further upstream, you end up with this kind of rocky area. You've got some foliage that is around here. You've got your banks, your sandy nougat colors that are going on here on the side, to build up the banks and stuff. I like that. It almost feels like I need to have some kind of little boat that is going on there, which would be great in its own right. So then as we move further towards the right, we're moving more towards the center now. So as we move towards the center, down below, really nothing. You've got some steps that lead up, and they lead up to this little platform that engages with the bridge. And the bridge is really well done, by the way. If you so choose to spend your hard-earned money, corn, you're sharing with another farmer, I will give you a bajillion corn for, I'm being silly here. However, my point behind this is that the bridge connects to this landing spot right here in the center. And then above that, you have this gorgeous area where you could put a minifig. It doesn't have to be any minifig. Again, I don't know enough about this kind of land in Lord of the Rings. However, I do know enough to know who the minifig is. So Arwen is adorning this gorgeous build that we have right here on the rear center part of this build. I absolutely love this thing. Now, the interesting thing about this is there are multiple places throughout these segments and the build in general where segments just, and mind you, this is circular. It's a circular base, but it has some outcroppings that stick out and stuff. You're like, well, what is that for? Because what you do is you sit it down on the, if you want to call it anything, the second story, if we will, here, the second floor, and it locks it into place without actually locking it into place without any studs, without axles or pins or anything. It just freely sits there. Now, if you were to have an earthquake in your house and your house suddenly, cants, 80 degrees to the left or to the right, whatever, this thing's going to go flying. And I have a story about that later with another part. However, it sits there. It's gorgeous in the way that it is done. They use a lot of these beautiful candlestick pieces connected, and they attach to cones that are turned upside down. They use the new, does it really fall under a brick? The 1x1, but it is 2/3 plates high. So it isn't a full brick, but I guess it's closer to being a brick because it's 2/3 than not. It's more than half. Anyway, really well done the way that is on the bottom. Connect to the candlestick pieces. It connects to this canopy. You have life rafts that are used here as pieces on robot arms. You have these little wispy pieces that are used here for, we see these a lot in like Monkey Kid, Chinese New Year type stuff, all in white. Everything is in white. It's so great. And then you have this light bluish gray for these Technic pieces that kind of stick out. Now, I don't know the difference, but along the top rim of that cylindrical canonical component, you have those sticking out. So down on the base, it studs on the side all the way, other than in the center, believe it or not, where you have studs sticking up. And you have this little lounge chair that is going on here. You've got some seafoam tiles that are going on, some pillows, that are adorned here as well. And it's only attached by a single stud by a trans clear 1x1 rounded brick that attaches to the bottom of this sitting, laying, whatever piece of furniture and attaches it to the base. So it can be moved around ever so slightly, be rotated around. So that goes on top. If you take it off, you have a giant hole. You have a giant hole down into the bottom. What are you looking at? I don't know. Let's talk about it here in a moment. So moving further towards the right, we talked about the stairs that go from this bottom base floor, which is pretty much the same level, maybe a plate difference of where the waterfall is, the stream that is running. So your plates come down here, your steps come down, and you're in this earthen area. You've got some mushrooms, you've got some more ferns that are going, bunch of ferns. I can tell you right now, these ferns are going to be a major attraction to this set for many reasons, but I can definitely see these in lug bulk next year. So as we move across to the right here, in the front, we've got a brick built tree. By the way, they are all brick built trees, and they are I've never seen brick built trees this well done, maybe since the Ideas Tree House. I'm 99% sure that is the last time I saw a really, really well done tree. And even the bonsai tree base was really, really good. But the entire thing, yeah. So we have this little tree that we have here, the smallest of the trees that we've got. And, brick built, nothing major, super special, whatever. You've got some darker sand green that we've got going on here. Sand green with some sand green leaves, some gold leaves as well. And that doesn't look too bad, actually. As you move just behind that, you've got some fern plants. You've got a barrel that is holding some weapons. We'll talk about the weapons here in a moment. There's a reason for it. And then just behind that, what we end up having is we have this, this spot where your blacksmith is coming out and pounding on this anvil, and he's making these swords. He's making these weapons. So you have an anvil that is sitting here under a tree. And you have another tree that is built into the rocky face of this entire, build section, whatever you want to call it. Here's what I really enjoyed about it. You have one spot where you have a branch that is coming off and it's actually got leaves, that flamish orange yellow, and it has orange leaves and yellow leaves. And what it ends up being is you have that one stalk of a branch, but then you have all these roots, these roots that are showing out and everything like that. I really appreciate the detail there. So the tree itself, again, identical to the other tree that we just talked about, except the colors are different. You have the yellow leaves, the orange leaves, and the flamish orange yellow color for the actual plant piece that is being used there. So as we move towards the rear, because that is where things get really good and great, right? Totally, bruh. Anyway, we come back towards the center. We already know, we've talked about the second tier. That is that gorgeous, gorgeous canonical cylindrical build that is going on. But now we need to talk about what is underneath that. So you have this giant, in the ground build, it's been hollowed out by elves and everything. And it's in armory. It's a weapons room. And you have two different shelves that hold weapons, two different racks that hold weapons. You have a grindstone that is in here that can be maneuvered about. There's no function to it. You just have to move it by hand if you so choose. There's a lamp that's in here. There's another sword that is in here that they're working on. You've got a bow that's in here. You have other swords. By the way, these swords are very unique to this set. You will not find this package of swords anywhere else in LEGO's inventory or catalog. So if that is important to you, it might be something that you keep in the back of your head. You're like, oh yeah. So one of them has a sword, it has the bow, and it has the axe, the new axe. God, I love this axe, and we'll talk about it later with the minifig. Another rack has an axe, the other axe, and it has 4 swords of the same variety. So that basically sums up your right section of your build. The section that is important to many, many people. I wish I had more of a historical relevance. If I said, it could be one of those things where I'm like, maybe I could be talked into a deeper dive of Lord of the Rings. Maybe just teeny weensy bit, right? But I'll tell you this. I have seen the 3 films. I've not seen The Hobbit. I don't really consider that part of them. Maybe one day. I know there's people smacking me upside my head virtually right now. However, from what I've seen, I really like the way this looks thus far. So next up, we're going to talk about the left section of this set because, to be frankly honest, the main center build could probably have 2 episodes of its own, especially if you are a Lord of the Rings fan. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Build techniques, build in general, references, which I don't have that many of. Just everything in general could have probably 2 episodes alone. Before we move on any further, we've got to take a quick break. We will be back in a moment. So let's go ahead and talk about the left side of this glorious build and, some of the caveats with it and some of the downfalls with it. So the biggest thing that you need to know, this thing looks like something that should be out of a castle. I understand where Rivendell is. I understand what Rivendell is. Very much so, a castle in its own right. This is a very slender piece. It is probably about 4, maybe 5 at most inches wide, probably 4.5 inches wide. I'm not sure what that comes out to in centimeters, but relatively speaking, kind of a thin build for a build of this size. Let's just put it that way. For a modular, this is, maybe a little bit thinner than if we had a dual part modular. If it were like a Lego City type building, maybe a little fatter than probably what it should be, some of it, but it's not bad. Anyway, so let's talk about it straight out from the front. We're going to go bottom to top. So on the bottom here, you have some more rocky outcropping, which you will find out where it ties into later on the next episode. However, you have vegetation galore. You've got 1x1 plant pieces in multiple colors. You have the green leafy style pieces that have the 3 leaves that stick out from the side in dark green here. You have the pieces that have the posts up the middle and have 3 leaves sticking out, those vegetation pieces. And you have the new fern pieces, which are incredible as well. A bunch of vegetation, bunch of stuff that is going on. Super duper important. And one of them, believe it or not, is actually hiding a hidden entrance. In the front, you do have a spot where this green leafy piece is posted into place by its bar, and it allows the plant piece to swing open to enter into a drainage ditch, whatever you want to call it. And you can get into there. Anyway, the rest of the front, just moving just above that, we've got 5 minifigs here. We've got 5 minifigs that are supposed to be statues that are going on. You have 1 in the very center, 2 that are adjacent to that, and another 2 that are adjacent to that. And they each have a different face. Okay, let me back up. They each have an opportunity to have an alternate face. Alternate was the word I was looking for there. Every single one of these has an alternate face. Both of them are pretty much the same. You have to look very closely to the differences. Now, just above that, you have some more castle building that is going on here. Again, you have the straight, you have the 45 degree, and then you have the 90 degree angled sides from where you are looking at it from the front. Each of them have a little bit of a similar style of build here. You have a castle style window that is going on. You have some bricks that are mixed with plates as well, but the bricks are those 1x2 bricks that have the texturing on the outside. One side is straight lines across, and in the front, it actually looks like kind of, a standard brick formation, offset spacings and such. Above that, what you have is you have some nice decoration here with some quarter tiles. Let me back that up. Quarter tiles, not like the small quarter tiles. What I mean is the quarter tiles that make a very much so larger circle. However, you do have 2 of those that bend up into the pieces that we're going to talk about next here in the sand green for the roof line and the bottom of, or I should say the very top of this section, but the base of the upper section we're going to talk about next. So in between these little bows that are going up there, which are tiled, by the way, we have the actual quarter round here in the dark bluish gray, which is actually really nice to have. And that does go the whole way around. It doesn't just do in the front or the sides. It goes the whole way around to the back, where most people aren't going to be looking along the roof line, pretty much where it comes into contact with, but it's nice to be able to have that the entire way around. So let's go ahead and go the whole way up, because that's always a fun thing, right? You go the top floor. You never stop at the floor just below. You always go to the top floor, right? Unless you're a crazy person in an elevator, which in that case, I cannot help you. Anyway, just above the section we were talking about is a super important section, because this is the base. This is the housing module for the spire that is the part of this tower here. So we have these big old fat chunky pieces. There are 4 of them. They make an entire circle. We've seen these on the Taj Mahal. I've seen these in other sets. These are in sand green. They are the big fat pieces, big sloped type pieces, but they are more to make a donut. They make a donut around the base of the top capsule of this tower. And that sets the base for the capsule of the tower to be planted on. Anyway, so you have 4 of them, big chunky pieces in the sand green. I swear we've seen them somewhere else. Anyway, so then we get into the top module of this section. Here's where it gets tricky. Okay. I am a lover of Lego. There are some things that I build and I'm like, oh God, that's so genius. That's so great. And there are other times where I'm like, that is so stupid. Why would you do that? we have reached that moment of both. The build on top of the donut, right? You have a base that is there. You are building on a separate base, and then you attach it via studs. This thing is extraordinarily delicate. Delicate in a way I could probably not explain to you. Delicate in a way that I would probably give up my grandmother to not have to build it again for a third time. You heard me right. A third time. So this is how it works. Start in the bottom. You start with a few bricks. By the way, you're building on corners. You're building 4 different sides of this, right? You build up these stanchions on the inside, bricks, rounded bricks, plates, stuff like that, studs on the side bricks, you got that ready to go. Then you build these segments that attach to the sides of them. You have a top that is already on this because you built that as well. And I'm not trying to go step by step. That's not the point here. My point is this. You attach these sections, right? You have each corner, 4 corners. If each corner, those sections are stable. And then you have 2 different sections that round out the corner. One has 2 pieces that stick out. One has 3. Think of like interlocking teeth on a zipper. That's essentially what you're building here. You have 2 from one side, 3 from the other. Everything interlocks. It looks perfect. It's amazing when it works. Once it works. So you do that. You attach those, right? Here's what you need to know. And I'm going to tell you this right now so that you don't have the same issue that I did. When you build those little light bluish gray segments. Oh, it's so pretty. Oh my God, look at this. They're going to be the teeth that interlock. When you attach those things, they attach by 2 studs on 2 bricks that have studs on the sides. They have a stud on one side and on another side, and the other 2 sides have no studs. When you attach those, you had better take your hand and put pressure on the top. I can't remember if the spire is on at this point or not, but you had better take your hand and depress it straight down on the entire build that you had made ahead of trying to attach these interlocking pieces. Because if you don't, you're going to do what I did. It's sitting there and you try to clip them, things fall apart. Or what I did is I had held it in my hand. So I had the base in my hand and I had my thumb and index finger holding a certain spot, fell apart. I am not kidding you. I built this 3 times. And then the 4th time I built it was because I never attached it to the top and it fell apart. At least it fell apart in modules. So I was like, okay, you go here, you go here, you go here. It is most definitely not the best part of the build. It is probably going to cause you the most anguish of a build. If you are going to buy this set, I implore you, before I backhand you virtually, to please, for the love of God, build it on a stable surface that you can put pressure on. Don't do it over, a couple crackers, and put your hand, put your palm. You don't need to apply great pressure. You need to apply pressure to help everything hold into line. If you don't, when you go to attach those other pieces, things are going to pop, things are going to move, and you're going to do what I did. And I walked away. This build, 49 bags. Most of the bags are combined together for the most part. It's not like the Eiffel Tower. You could probably bust through this. If you worked a solid 12 hours on it, you could probably pop it. No doubt. I did it over like 2.5 build sessions, and it probably came to about 14 hours, maybe 15 hours, maybe even 16. But you can accomplish it. I promise you could accomplish it. All I'm saying is this specific part, please do yourself a favor and just give in and just do it the way I'm telling you to do it. It was a mess. Anyway, so once that part is built, then you attach some side pieces that are here that are supposed to be like the coverings over top of the windows and stuff like that, except they don't attach 100% perfectly either. There's a tolerance here that needs to be given, and the tolerance is not very great. It is a very much so a game, and I'm not a fan of it. I don't like the way that it is done. I hated this part of the build. If I could have taken anything out and smashed it to pieces on top of the plastic pieces it's made of, I would have done so a million times over. The sloped pieces that you attach just above, they're supposed to be like the eyebrows to the center cathedral. I guess that's what you could call it, with the spire that's on top. They don't align right. I did it 5-6 different ways. Little tolerance here, a little tolerance there. More tolerance here, more tolerance there. Little here, a little there. More here, little there. Every way you could think of, I had issues. It's not the only issue that I had with this build. We'll talk about that later. And believe it of all, a tree problem. So anyway, spire is done. It's a pain in my booty. I don't want anything to do with it anymore. So let's walk our happy butts back down from the spire. We get down to the big chunky sand green pieces that are out here. And the sand green pieces basically touch base with the roof. This is the first time we're talking about a roof. The roof segment is unique because, as far as I know, this has never been done in Lego form before. Never. Not like this. You have 1x1 tiles, different colors, and they are not aligned straight across. They are aligned at a 45-degree angle, right? It's at a 45-degree angle. So essentially, if you put these tiles on a plate, they look like a diamond. That's essentially what you're doing. Now, if you're a smart person like I am, you take your plate and you askew it and you line everything up like it looks like a normal plate, a normal tile, not like it's skewed. It helps you when you're placing them. Please do yourself a favor, skew it 45 degrees and just plop, 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 or at least mentally do it, because after the first round, I was like, oh, I can just plop, 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 plop. I know this is going to make a straight line this way. Just do it to save yourself some anguish. Now, the nice thing is in the instructions, and I don't recall seeing this in the instructions anywhere before, Lego has a plate, whether it's a 1x2 or a 1x1 long plate, to help you level these out. Now, I will tell you, when you do it, you get these things in average fashion before you try and straighten them. Make sure they are not all over the damn place, because if they are, that plate is not going to push through and you just wasted time. Try to get them similar to what the instructions say. They can be askew, but don't make them askew. Anyway, you run your plate up through there. Here's what I suggest you do. I suggest you push it one direction and the other direction, meaning push forward and pull back. That way you're applying force to both sides. You're helping straighten it out on both sides. And you have to do that for every row. Now, here's the other interesting thing. In the instructions, it has you go through and do a little bit, and then a little bit, and then the last bit. Just go through and do it all. If you at least try and get a tolerance with them, even if the movement tolerance is slight, at least you can go through in one fell swoop and be like, boom, 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 boom. The roof is done. You don't have to worry about, okay, well, I did this. Let's go and click out. And I got to straighten these out here and here. Let's go the other way now. Okay. Oh, I have to do more? Well, damn. You didn't tell me that before. Just do yourself a favor and listen to what I'm telling you. Do them all, unless it has the quarter round, because there's some quarter round tiles, and just do it all at the end. You're going to save yourself time, anguish, grief, whatever you want to call it, and you'll be much happier off. So the roof is done. It's great. We have some sand blue. We've got some sand green. We've got some sand orange. We've got some sand yellow. Everything seems like sand on the roof. I don't think they're sand yellow and sand orange. However, then we roll around to the rear of that section, have a nice little mural here in a sticker, by the way, that is built here. We have some gold, some of the lacquered gold. We've got a print. I always say print. Printing on a sticker is what I mean. We have some stickerage here. You've got a minifig here that is carrying some sort of scepter with pointy horns, and he's on the beach with a guy with a half sword. I know. You already know, and I know too, but we're going to save it. Anyway, it's really nice on the back end. And then just down below that, you have an open entryway, archway that connects to the main building. We'll talk about that on the next episode. Well, you'll hear it on the next episode. It's all happening today. However, with that in mind, so we're not on the roof anymore. We're on the second floor. You have this nice brick-built bed and the nougaty color that is going on here. You have some lime green, actually, that is used here for the sheets or whatever. Sand, light, sea foam, sand foam, sea foam, greeny, whatever. Nice neon green. It looks sea foamish to me. Got some stickers here on these 2x4 tiles. Nice brick-built bed. Some of those wispy pieces that we talked about on the canopy on the other part. Got a nice little candle setup that is going on over here with some flames. Have another chair, brick-built chair, that is hiding up underneath here. Not a big fan of where it's at. Can't really use it. Feels like it's out of place. I don't know why. It just doesn't really seem to work for me. However, then we have this little section here. There's some writing that is going on. You've got a desk that has a quill pen. You've got some fire that is here on each side. And this is a sticker as well. You've got some writing that is going on there, whatever is being written. You've got a treasure chest up here next to the bed. I'm pulling it out right now. You probably just heard that because it is tucked in there. And this is as far as I've gotten. I shouldn't say as far as I have gotten. There's a sword and there's a 2x2 tile that has a sticker on it. I'm not going to speak knowledgeably, but I'm going to speak and say these are the things that were given to Frodo by, is it Arwen? Maybe? Am I wrong? In the first movie. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I swear to God, she gave him this stuff. Anyway, so this is in the chest. The chest can be maneuvered about wherever you really want to put it. Honestly, I would have preferred them to put it on a jumper and have 2 studs instead of having 8 studs. Come on, Wes. Get out of your head, bro. For real. I'm just kidding. It would have been nicer to have it like that. So one side is completely open to this build. The other side is not. The other side has this little stanchion, this little balcony, these little uprisers that are going on here, these little posts that are going on in the white, attaching to the underside of sand green, which attaches above that are tiles or jumpers that are in white, which help hold the roof together, support the roof. Really nice build. I really like the way that is done. Let's move down below that. Now, we're not going inside yet because I like the outside. Very visual, very pretty. So underneath that not very top section, but I guess you could call it the very top section, the bed that is up there, that section, that room, down below that, you have these gorgeous, gorgeous pieces that are used to tie into these 1x1 bricks that have studs on the side that have open holes. And they use the fatter tusk piece. You can attach another piece to it because it has a mini bar at the end. Those attach into the base via a Technic piece as well. And they connect on each side. So you have these nice slow arches. Very molasses style arch where just nice and easy and comes down. So you have a doorway in the center. You have 2 little, areas on the side that have these little countertops, if you will, that run across to it. Stairs that go into it. And let's turn it around and see what we can get into. So on the reverse side of this, which is the connecting side to the main build from the left side, if you are still with me here, you have another one of those little lounge kind of laying, I don't even know what you want to call them, open mattress type things that we talked about on the last section of the build. We have that here. You have another one. The build is identical. It's the same exact thing. You do have a tiled rug that is underneath it. You are in the library space though. So if you're laying on the bed, you're looking out into the main build, which we'll talk about on the next episode. You'll hear on the next episode. You can see the library to your right. There's a whole bunch of different stuff that's going on here. A bunch of different books, greatness, all kinds of goodies and everything else because that's super important, right? The library is a major thing. Now the library can, if I can get her to work here, the library can be removed to a certain degree. It does pop out It does pop down. Is pop down the right word here? And it's essentially a secret entrance, which leads to the brush in the beginning that we talked about that is open. You can get inside. You can do whatever you're going to do. Escape, run away. I don't know that I probably got the reference on that one, but hey, it still works. So you do have that. There's really nothing else in here. There's really, really, really nothing else in here, which is unfortunately sad to say. You've got some torches that are in here that are lit. You've got a chimney stack that is here. But other than that, there's nothing in there. I like the idea that we have a breakaway build. It's very much reminds me of the Prohibition style Lego set. Which one was it? It was the modular. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it reminds me very much so of that. And I like that kind of stuff. It's unique, it's different, it's fun, it's enjoyable. And anytime we get a Lego bookcase, I'm all over it, because in this bookcase, I mean, we've got some neon green, we've got some orange, we've got some sand blue, we've got some regular blue, we've got some sand green, we got some dark brown. I mean, and we got some gold in here along with the white adornment. Good stuff all around. I really like what it has to offer. So far, these two pieces of the build have been very well done. Detail oriented, yes. Now, I'm not a deep diver. I don't know enough. I only know so much about Lord of the Rings. I am never going to be a Lord of the Rings fanboy. Nobody is ever going to call me that. Seinfeld, yes. Ninjago, yes. Jurassic Park, yes. Some other things, yes. This, no. If only Lego would do gargoyles. Disney gargoyles. Anybody want to do a ideas project? Get in contact with me. Anyway, I've enjoyed it to this point that I'm sharing it with you. You are going to have your mind blown on the next episode. I've cut it, ready to go. You gotta find out what a tree looks like. And that's about it. No, I'm kidding. Everything to this point has been solid, other than the issue that I had, which I had already mentioned. All you have to do is follow my tip. That's it. And it's done. However, that's going to wrap up part 1. Part 2 is coming right on the back of this, piggyback, if you will. You know, hangers on, whatever. It is coming. So until we meet again, I'm your minifig ghost, Matt. Let's build on it.